Listen, grief doesn't have to be grim. That's why when I talk about it on this podcast, it's about dealing with grief and loss in a way that influences the changes you want to make in your life. As you heal, what do you want to do next? Make a professional pivot, end a toxic relationship or friendship? I want you to have the confidence to navigate change. These are real stories from my one-on-one coaching sessions and my inspiring interviews with change makers. I'm Marcia Cork, the change coach, and this is Ooh, Those Effing C Words. Hello, and welcome back, MCs, to another episode of Ooh, Those Effing C Words. I am joined today by a beautiful person inside and out. And it's that inside beauty that brought her here today. A few weeks ago, I sat in her chair and I was sharing my vision with her for this campaign. I'm calling it the Get You Out of My Hair campaign, like Lizzo's shampoo press, get you out of my hair. So if you've ever sat in a stylist or barber's chair, you know the unique relationship that forms between the client and the stylist. We dump on each other, right? So it's through that lens that we know the power of intimate conversation and expressing what we've been holding on to. Stylists and barbers know secrets that even people very close to us don't even know. And we know their secrets too, right? So because we know how cleansing those conversations can be, I want that to be the start of exploring grief recovery. Okay. So the same level of trust that we put into our barbers and stylists, we can put into finding a grief recovery support specialist or therapist, when we're ready. So one of the things that Dawn has experienced and wants to give visibility to is toxic relationships. So she wants to empower the women who sit in her chair to examine their toxic relationships, get that toxicity out of their hair, right? So she's going to share her story today. So welcome to the show, Dawn.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and being willing to share this story. I'm going to let you lead. You can give as much background, as much detail as you feel comfortable with. But I want to start with, I know this happened for us, right? We started bonding because we were both going through a separation.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think at that point we were playing with the idea, wrapping our minds around the possibility of separation. And we both just had babies. So we were exploring that while just having babies and the conflict that comes with, do I leave this marriage? I've just had this baby, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
So we formed that relationship. So we know what it feels like to make that kind of life move. So I want you to start there. I want you to tell us what toxicity feels like. And you say you've told me before you've experienced it in more than one relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us what toxicity looks like from your perspective.
I hope I can get through this without crying. I swear.
And it's
Um,
okay. This
for
is a this
me, toxicity or toxic relationships, they take different form. Um, I've been in several. I feel like when you're in one, you know because you feel like you're drowning.
Hmm.
And that's a simple way to put it. Like every day feels like a sad day, even when you want it to feel happy.
I want people to understand that toxicity can take a lot of different shapes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be just an abusive relationship. It's any behaviors, traits, or characteristics that start to weigh on you and have that impact on you,
Mm-hmm.
physically, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. If the
Mm-hmm.
behavior is in contrast to, what you believe in ethically and morally.
It can be anywhere from uh, what I want to call mind control, but
Hmm.
mind control can look so simple. It could just have you thinking, oh well, I'm just trying to be submissive to my husband because that's the right thing to do. I'm letting my husband lead, but in all, it's really like, I feel like the man really taking control over you and dominance over
Mm-hmm.
you. And
Mm-hmm.
once that happens, I feel like it's easy for him to really get you to do anything
Yeah.
or believe anything. And so it can be gaslighting.
Yep.
I've been love bombed and then gaslit.
Talk about love bomb because we hear gaslighting. Talk about love bomb.
Oh goodness. It's when I've experienced it in almost every toxic relationship I've been in,
Okay.
where you are literally spoiled, like pampered in the beginning.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, trips and gifts and just love. And I mean, you feel so overwhelmed, so special that you lose sight of everything else.
Yeah.
And that feeling takes over, and it's like you just want to be with them. You just want to be up under them. Everything they do, you want to do. Like,
Yeah.
and then what happens after the love bombing stops, everything changes. I mean, it goes from right to left, like
Mm-hmm.
completely different. Like every single thing that person did in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
like nothing. He does nothing even compared to
It's like the
it.
polar opposite.
It's the polar opposite.
Yeah. I had
So,
a friend explain that where we would have conversations about, the people were involved with and how they were emotionless, just no
mm-hmm.
love, no affection, but then she would get with these men who were very emotional. And so to see that contrast, then of course you always want you admire what you see in this person who is just really emotional
Mm-hmm.
and really affectionate. But what happens is, like you said, for those people, because they are so emotional, you experience the very high and the very low of that emotion. So that emotion quickly goes from all the love and affection to hate and just being an asshole. So when you starting out in the beginning, when everything is beautiful, what you're experiencing is the high. And so it's the most affectionate form of that emotion.
So
Go
the
ahead.
scariest part of that for me is you stay in it because you're searching for
Hmm.
how you felt in the beginning.
Yeah, you're chasing that
So you
feeling again.
stay in it because you're like, okay, now, maybe this is just a bad moment, or
Yeah.
maybe we're just going through a rough patch. So you almost give excuses to bad behavior because
Yeah.
you're like, this can't be who this person is. Like he
Yeah.
showed me who he was, right? Like all the
Yeah. This is
trips
not
and
the
all the
person I
this and
know.
tweeting and
Hmm.
that, it's no, this is the real them. They
Yeah.
just wanted to get you into a place where they, know they have you. Now
Yeah.
they know they have you. You're not going nowhere. So now they can be who they really are.
So when you experienced that, did you feel like it was a form of manipulation? You don't just see that as the layers of this person that that
So
they can be emotional and affectionate, but then also maybe they experience some,
you know
mental health.
that's a
Okay.
good question because I don't feel like you really see it until it gets worse and worse. Okay,
Okay.
so I feel like it's levels to it. So you get love bombed, then something changes, it's not the same.
Mhm.
But it gradually gets worse and worse and worse and worse. But
Okay.
when it gets to the point where you're like questioning now, like I'm not happy.
Mm.
Like this does not feel good. Like
Mhm.
nothing about this relationship makes me feel good. That's when you start looking back and you're realizing like, yeah, this is manipulation. This
Yeah.
whole thing was almost like a plot of manipulation.
Mm.
Like that's when you really start looking at it. Because in the beginning, I feel like you're so blinded by the love, the
Mhm.
outpouring, like you don't pay attention to that. Like I don't
Are
I
there
never went into it thinking like, oh no, he doing too much. Like he's trying to get me into a bed. Like I never ever, because it feels genuine.
Okay.
It feels genuine, and that's how this guy is really a master manipulator because he's good. Like
Mm.
it feels genuine. It feels like
Mhm.
this is who they are. So you think you found a good one,
Okay.
and then when the shit changes, that's when you're like baffled, like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Like, what happened here? This isn't who I thought I had. Like, and then it gets worse. And so you start making excuses for it. You
And
start
when you
making
say it gets
excuses for
worse, what gets worse? Is it
the
just the
behavior,
normal stresses and
the
okay.
behavior, the disrespect. So that's when that's when the toxicity gets, it starts to level up.
Okay.
You understand? So
Yeah.
it's almost like, it's almost like, okay, I'm gonna manipulate you to get you where I want you, but now I know I got you. Now I could treat you like shit.
Hmm.
You understand? Because
Mm-hmm.
now you're confused. But then in the middle of treating me like shit, I might do something nice in the middle of it. So you think like, oh no, it's still in him. No, he's still sweet. Like, I might
Mm-hmm.
take you somewhere. I might buy you something nice. I might be nice for a week.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And then it
Yeah.
goes back to the bullshit. But each time it goes back to the bullshit, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
So are there patterns? Is it because I want to, in the beginning of the relationship,
Um,
when we talk about the honeymoon stage, in the beginning, the relationship is fresh. We don't have any established stressors, um, responsibilities or obligations together. It's new. So we don't have those types of stresses and triggers. But then
mhm,
as the relationship matures, then that's when you start to have those stressors, those
mhm,
triggers. Now your conversations are more intense because our lives are intertwined. Maybe we there's some interdependence now. What you do affects me, what I do affects you. And so as that matures in the relationship, can you say that maybe that's when you start to see those
I
responses?
I
Those
didn't. I didn't
okay,
necessarily see it right away.
okay,
It was just it was gradually over time, and then I just know, like, and I mean, and I'm speaking on different situations.
okay.
Yeah, I
Different
mean,
relationships?
different relationships,
Okay, okay.
because I've been in, my marriage was extremely toxic, and then after I got out of my marriage, I got
Mhm,
into a relationship it was a good relationship, but then I got into another relationship, extremely toxic, that
mm,
I'm actually just now getting out of.
okay,
You understand? So, and in both of them, I find similarities in
okay.
between that relationship and my marriage, but they aren't identical. If that makes sense. Like, I
Yeah,
find some triggers, like certain things, I'm like, this reminds me of my ex-husband, right?
mhm,
But they're not identical. They're not identical. So I can't like say it's like a certain pattern, like one, like it's the same exact pattern. I feel like it's kind of
mhm,
personality based.
okay.
So these are
Talk
two
about
different
that.
personalities. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like so like where you might have one personality that is, so for instance, I'm gonna get, because I can only kind of speak on my experience, right? So my ex-husband was very, I'm gonna say very dominant, like a
okay,
very strong personality. He didn't joke a lot. Like, he was very serious all the time.
okay,
And I'm not gonna say that I necessarily liked it. And this is in the beginning when we first met.
okay,
But I felt safe. He made
mhm,
me feel safe. And I guess at that period in my life, I needed that feeling.
okay,
So because I felt safe, I kind of submit to him, right?
mhm,
So the difference between my marriage and that controlling and that dominant, like
mhm,
serious behavior all the time,
mhm,
I met a man who was funny, who was fun, who joked, who, like, we had so much fun. It was what I needed at the time coming out of that.
yeah,
So, but again, a toxic relationship. So he could be happy and fun and but when he feels like he's losing control, then it's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Hmm.
And then I'll see a whole different side of him. And I'm like, well, who is that?
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Did
But
either of these people have any diagnosed mental health challenges,
um,
narcissistic
no,
personality
but
disorder, bipolar disorder, any of that?
no, but I believe they do.
Hmm.
Undiagnosed,
Okay.
definitely undiagnosed bipolar
Okay.
disorder, like both.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing was ever diagnosed, but I mental health is something that I deal with like within my family, so it's kind of recognizable after dealing with someone for some time. Like
Right.
you kind of see like it ain't right.
Okay. And so these are the red flags that you start to observe.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see them, what do you do with them?
Ignore them.
Hmm.
And it's crazy. Every woman isn't the same. Some women see red flags and they're like, oh shit, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right? But then you have some women that see red flags, and because they're enamored by all the other shit,
Yeah.
they overlook them and they stay in it and they ignore it and they keep going.
Yeah.
And I think I'm that person. It's
Okay.
almost like I know I'm about to walk off this cliff, but fuck it, I just want to see what's down there. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Uh-huh.
And it,
That's very honest.
yeah,
That's exactly the transparency and vulnerability you want to be, you want to share because a lot of people don't want to admit that,
yeah. I mean, it's
right?
hard to admit, especially at this this big age I'm at.
This big
But
age.
in order to do better, you have to recognize where you lack at. And
Hmm.
um, what I notice with myself is that I keep picking the same kind of person. It may come in different forms and different shades and
Hmm.
different personalities, but internally, it's the same damn person. But the
You
reason
can see that in the beginning.
I'm recognizing this now. Is what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Okay.
So in the beginning, no, I don't see it, but I might see like a red flag, right? I might see shit that I ignore, but why am I ignoring red flags? So all of this relates back to myself. So at the end of the day, like I can't get mad at the man for hurting me. I almost get mad at myself because you saw it, but
Hmm.
you ignored it. So now moving forward, I feel like for myself, I have to recognize what I want and what I don't want, what I will tolerate and what I'm not going to tolerate. And
Yes.
when I see it in the beginning, yeah, I'm out. I need to be one of them girls. Oh no, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yep.
Because, or
Seen
else
this
it's going to
before.
continue to be the same exact situation over and over and over and over and over. And
Yeah.
I can't do it.
And that right there, we have these conversations about getting out of a relationship and is it too soon to get into another one? Right. So we talked about that on the podcast. We had an
Mhm.
episode about when you get out of a marriage, when is it too soon? When are you ready to start dating again? And it's not so much a time frame. It's not so much a window of whether and when it's acceptable again to start dating. It's more
Mhm.
of have you healed from the previous relationship? So
Exactly.
before you get into another relationship, have you healed from the previous one? Are there things that happened in that relationship that maybe they are red flags? Are you able to navigate those red flags now? If you see them again, are you able to avoid them? How do you
Mhm.
handle them? Are you
Mhm.
comfortable having difficult conversations? So if you
Mhm.
were the type of person that avoided conflict in the previous relationship, have you learned how to navigate a difficult conversation? If you haven't, then what's going to happen when you get into the next relationship? You
So
still going to avoid difficult go ahead, conversation.
that's funny. I don't mean to cut you off. That's funny because when I got out of my marriage, I was so happy to be free. I just wanted to be outside. You know what I mean? I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be meeting people. I wanted to have
Uh-huh.
fun. I felt like I was in jail and I just got released. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
But now I'm like, I don't want to meet nobody. Like I don't have it in me. And it's not that, like, I just don't want to bring on, I don't want to bring on any of like this negativity that I feel in me right now, that
Yeah.
I still feel like I need to purge.
Yeah.
I don't want to put that on nobody. Like, I don't want a good man to pay
Mhm.
for the shit that I'm feeling over somebody else.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
I have so far to go right now, like, just to get myself back into a healthy space.
Mhm.
Like, meeting somebody for me right now is like completely like, I'm not, I can honestly say I'm not healthy enough to meet anybody and like entertain. I don't care if it's a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
might
it's a
I might
slippery
start
slope.
crying if they say a word that you understand, like I'm just
Mhm.
not, I'm not there.
Mhm.
Right
Or
now,
over
I
that
think
time.
what's important for me is to really focus on things that make me happy
Yeah.
and be around friends that make me happy,
Yeah.
and my children, and just, you know, I just got to get back into a real healthy space because I've been like, so much has been taken out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the reasons why people stay
Yeah.
in a relationship. And I wanted this, I wanted to round out the conversation with perspectives from, from my community. So from listeners, people who have been in toxic relationships, I'm going to share some of the things that they've shared, and it
Okay.
mirrors a lot of what you've said.
Yeah.
So chime in on any of these. So one
Okay.
of the reasons that was shared, they held on to the hope that the person would change.
Mm-hmm.
So I already heard that. You
Mm-hmm.
when you saw the red flags, you're like, wait a minute now. This is not who he really is.
You're
He told
chasing the
me.
person you
Yeah.
met in the
Yep.
beginning. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's never gonna come back.
Mm. Rationalizing and excusing his behavior.
Done that, been there, done that.
Yeah. So I guess that's going back to what you were saying. So this is the person that you meet. This is who wooed me,
You
you know.
almost get into a state of confusion almost. It's almost
Mm.
okay, no, no. This, you know, you scratch your head like, this can't be, this not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it
Well,
kind of
okie
goes back
doke.
to the first thing. You kind of chasing the person you met in the beginning. So
Right.
you excuse a lot of the bad behavior. And also, if you are dealing with someone who is charming
Mm-hmm.
and who is a good manipulator, he'll know
Mm-hmm.
how to reel you back in.
Mm.
He know how to get you, know how to say, he knows the right things to say to get you kind of get your guard back down.
Yeah.
And so that also can play a big part in you excusing the behavior because
Mm-hmm.
you're listening and believing what they're saying
Yeah.
when this person is a liar. You understand? Like, they've already shown you they're a liar, but you're excusing the behavior because it sounds good.
Because you said earlier that person isn't coming back.
Yeah.
Is that true?
But there are good days and bad days. Like
Okay.
I said that before. Like it may be bad behavior followed by, it might be a month of great behavior,
Mhm.
but then it goes back to the bad behavior.
Okay.
You understand? So
Yeah.
what's that saying? A zebra can't, stripes don't change or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
You can't
I
change
mean,
the
it's
stripes.
really a true statement. Like, a person is who they are. Like, a liar is a liar, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna stop lying, but I might lie again.
Yeah.
You understand?
That was good. Uh-huh.
Your kids, you tell them don't eat candy, they might do it again. Like, people
Yeah.
are, you understand what I mean? Like, people are who they are. Like, you can't make them be who they're not. And I
Right.
think that because women who, okay, I'm gonna say women who are really open to love and want to be loved, right?
Mhm.
We excuse a lot of bullshit.
Mm.
because we see good shit in bad people.
Mm-hmm.
So because we see good shit in bad people, we're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, no, I know. I mean, he showed me he's a good
Yeah.
guy. You know what I mean? So we're always making excuses for you calling me a bitch, or you not coming home, or you disrespecting me, or you know what I mean? You putting your
Yeah.
hands on me, or whatever it is. Like, we excuse it because you follow it up with something that we like, okay,
Something we want to hear.
something we
Something
want
that
to hear.
feels good. Yeah. And that's in some of these, a lot of what you just said are in more of these comments. So we had such a deep emotional connection. I was just in love with the idea of the relationship despite its toxicity.
Hmm.
Fear of physical or emotional harm, not just to me, but to him.
My oh, I went through that. I
And
went through
and,
that.
and is that a form of manipulation?
Oh, oh my gosh. So he wouldn't come home, right? He would call me and say he's sitting on the side of the road and he's gonna kill himself.
Mm,
And I would be like hysterical,
mm,
like, no, crying and like, please come home. Like, what's wrong? Because I would not know what's wrong. Like, what even caused this, right?
yeah.
But I don't know. He did it. I think he needed me. He needed to feel that I loved him or something. I don't know. It was the weirdest shit. But it got to a point when he used to say that. Like, I got so fed up and I knew it was like a manipulation tactic. I
Mm,
was like, well,
mhm.
do it. And that's awful. And I'm that's an awful thing to say and feel, right? To people
Mhm.
who really contemplate suicide. But when you know you being toyed with and
Yeah,
played with, now you affected my mental peace.
yeah. And
So
that's
when I
that
started pulling his
explains the
card, like,
conflict.
when I stopped paying attention to it and like, well, okay, we'll do it. You know what I mean? Then he
Mhm.
stopped doing it because he knew it wasn't affecting me no more.
Okay. So then what's the strategy then? And I don't even like using the word strategy, but there is some form of planning that has to go into, yeah, it is a strategy. It's like an exit strategy. It's like if
So
you know
it
this about a
depends on the
person.
situation. Okay.
Mhm.
So again, I was in two different, I'm speaking on kind of two different
Uh-huh.
relationships, right?
Uh-huh.
In my marriage, yeah, I needed an exit strategy. I was married, I had children.
Yeah.
It was like, and he paid everything.
Mm.
I ain't had no money.
Yep.
So I'm sitting here
Okay.
like, how the hell am I gonna leave? I
Yeah.
can't leave. You understand? So it had to be an exit strategy for that.
Yeah.
Now the relationship is really no strategy for that because it's just really you getting fed up saying, listen, I'm done. Now
Mhm.
in a relationship, I pay my own bills. I got my own house.
Mhm.
I have all the shit is mine. It's
Mhm.
if you leave, I'm not gonna skip a beat.
Yeah.
I still work. I still provide for myself. I'm not gonna miss out on nothing besides your companionship, which I need to miss out on because it's toxic.
Yeah.
You understand?
But
So
for some of these relationships, even if they aren't married, there's still some interdependence. There
yeah,
still might be the manipulation of, I'm going to harm myself if you leave me.
yeah,
So
but
even,
again, it's the personality. It's the
yeah,
person who you're dealing with. I just think that he might have been in a bad place
mentally.
altogether,
Hmm.
and with both people, I just think that they both don't really know how to love themselves.
Mm,
So how can you really love me the way I need you to love me? You know?
yeah.
So
So I
when
know
you
you mentioned some potential undiagnosed mental health
mhm,
issues.
mhm.
Did either of them ever have therapy? Had they considered therapy? Did you guys do,
Um
couples counseling or anything like that? Was there
I tried couples counseling, but it was kind of like post couples counseling with my ex-husband, but it was more I didn't want to get back with him. It was more
okay,
trying to just coexist and raise our kids.
gotcha.
because I kind of hated him,
Okay.
So I had to learn how to kind of let go of the hurt
Mm-hmm.
and like be able to coexist and help and be cordial with him so we could raise our sons.
Got you. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about what life is like now so that people can get a glimpse of what
Yeah.
life is like on the
It's
other side of leaving a toxic relationship,
it starts
especially if
out
you have
rough.
kids?
It
Okay.
starts out rough. It starts out really rough because leaving a situation, it's hurtful, right? So you spend maybe the first part of that just grasping like what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's okay. Let me tighten up. I got kids. I gotta get my shit together. You
Okay.
know what I mean? For me, I was blessed. I don't know. God don't play about me. That's what I'm gonna
Mm.
say. Because I was blessed. I really left that relationship. I went through some stress, but I leveled up real quick
Okay.
after that. You know what I mean? I think I was just I was just like focused on
Tunnel vision.
tunnel vision, like
Yeah.
get my shit together. And I leveled up and I lost everything. When I left that marriage, I left with a suitcase.
Mm.
A suitcase. I didn't even take all my stuff. I took what I thought I would wear the most. I took clothes for my kids and I left.
Wow.
And I stayed with my mom for like 3 months and I got a place, furnished my place. Like I just was not like I was on a mission.
Okay.
You know
Let's
what I
break
mean?
that down because there are people right now who are in a relationship, whether it's a marriage or, living together, and they need to start wrapping their mind around that exit strategy, especially since you mentioned
The
you didn't have anything, you didn't have any money. So
I
people
had
who, yeah,
zero.
so there will be people like that who will experience financial repercussions or maybe can't afford to get their own place. What kind of hope, what kind of process can you put in place or help them put in place?
My advice to anyone in that situation, the scariest part is leaving.
Mm,
That was the scariest part, is like literally wrapping my head around leaving. Once I made that decision, it was almost like God said, "Here you go."
okay.
You know what I mean? But what is fear? Fear is what? Not like the unknown, right?
Yeah.
We only get scared because we don't know. But
Hmm.
you really have to just rely on God and just trust God. And I swear, like, once you get yourself out of that relationship,
Hmm.
the floodgates are going to open. It's funny because I remember like being in that marriage. I would sit in my room and I would cry like all day. And I would like look on, like, I would be on my phone, like looking at apartments, knowing I couldn't
Mm.
afford none. Right. But I would almost just be imagining this life
Ah, okay.
without him. Right.
Visualization. Hmm.
Visualization.
Yeah.
But I was always too scared to leave until one day I just left. Right. But it was hard, but it was the best thing because it pushed me. It was like I knew wasn't nobody gonna take care of my kids but me. I had to put my big girl pants on,
Yeah.
you
Where
know,
did you
and
go?
thankfully I've always done hair. I just relied on that. And
Okay.
business got better. I was able to support myself and my children. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
things like I said, the floodgates really open.
Where did you go?
I I would say, where did I go when I left?
Uh-huh.
To my mom's.
Okay. Okay. You
I
did
went to
say
my
that.
mom. So everybody doesn't have that where they can just go to their moms. And
Mm.
my mom lives in a small house, so it was like literally all of us in one room. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful to her for opening her doors to me.
Yeah.
But I would say be open about your situation to people because my friends didn't know what I was going through.
Mm.
But when I opened my mouth and like really like let them know what I was going through, like
Mhm.
so many people were willing to help me get out
Yeah.
of the situation. Like, girl, you can come here. Like, girl, you can come. You know what I mean? But I had kids. I'm like, I don't want to bring all my kids. But listen, just be open with someone,
Yeah.
about what you're going through, because people will help you. Like, people will really open their doors and help you.
Yeah. So that
And you'd
that
be surprised.
expression is everything to be able to communicate the situation that you're in. Because otherwise, if you feel hopeless, that hopelessness is what's keeping you stuck. Is that you feel
Exactly.
like you
And it's
don't
the
have any
fear.
options. Yeah.
And it's the fear, because fear will keep us captive. Like, a lot of people don't
Yeah.
even live to their full potential because they're afraid.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't accomplish goals because they're afraid. So fear will hold you hostage if you let
Absolutely.
it. So you really got to say, listen, one thing that, and I'm not a super, super spiritual person, like religious. I believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
I believe God don't play about me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that, like,
Okay.
if you believe you can get out of it, you believe that you can grow from it, and it ain't gonna be easy. I lost hair, like I was bald.
Mm.
You understand? Like, I was so stressed,
Mm-hmm.
but I recovered quickly. And when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, like, it was the best decision I ever could have made, because I was so unhappy.
Yeah.
Who
And we've been
knows what
talking
could have
about that.
happened? Yeah.
Yeah. We've been talking about that on this podcast, the ways and the shape that um, life events have on your health and what that looks like. It's hair loss, this unexplained hair loss, and people don't know why, why they're losing their hair
For
or
some
not being
people,
able to sleep or sleeping too much, all these different things that they don't attribute to a decline in their health that's coming from the things going on in their lives.
For some people, it could be extreme weight loss. For me, it's always weight gain. Like, when I'm
Mm,
unhappy,
mhm.
when I'm happy, I'm in my best shape,
Yeah.
which is retarded, right? No, when I'm unhappy, I gain the most weight because I'm an emotional eater. So
Okay.
I will be like damn near sad, laying in the bed, and I want to eat something and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm unhappy anyway. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's just,
Mhm.
it's almost like a self-sabotage kind of situation I go
Mhm.
through.
Mhm.
So for me, it's that, weight gain, hair loss. If I'm like extremely stressed,
Mhm.
um, I've noticed recently, like, my blood pressure is like high.
Mhm.
Never had blood pressure issues, but again, stress causes that, right?
Yep.
So it really can harm you in different ways
Absolutely.
if you, not, and that's not even to speak on like the lack of motivation, the self hindrance. Like, you almost hinder yourself from moving forward.
Mhm.
Like, I'm gonna say, in this relationship I'm in now, I've noticed I don't feel motivated. I don't feel like I'm growing my business
Mm.
to a
Mhm.
point where I would do if I were happy, or if that kind of sounds stupid, right? But like, support and happiness, and like, it helps you prosper. It's
Yes.
almost like giving water to a plant.
Yes.
But if I'm getting everything stripped out of me, pulled out of me, I'm dry. I'm not
Yep.
blooming.
Yep.
So that's what's happening to me. It's happening to my business. Like, even myself, like, I feel a decline in my appearance, like
Yeah.
everything. You know
And
what
it's
I
so
mean?
subtle. It's so subtle that people diminish what's happening to them. They won't attribute it to the toxic people in their lives, the toxic
It's
relationship.
it's subtle until you just wake up and say, "Oh my God, look at me."
Yeah.
You
Right.
know
And
what I
that's why I say it's the health decline over the next 2 years because sometimes it can take that long.
mean?
And why I say it's not just it's not just physical health, but it's also emotional health and
Hmm.
mental health because for some using some of the examples from the conversation that we've been having, if a person is not physically abusive, but they are so um I'll say manipulative, but want you to be under them all the time to the point where you have distanced yourself from other people in your lives. If you're together all the time and then you want to spend time apart, and then that creates anxiety around being apart from him. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you now have anxiety where you didn't have anxiety before, from
Mm-hmm.
this change in your relationship, from distancing yourself from people, from feeling like you need to be with this person, or how's he going to feel if you're not with him, even that, the fact that
Mm-hmm.
you now have anxiety that you didn't have before
Mm-hmm.
is a change in your mental and emotional health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I
And it
want to,
can affect you. It can affect your business. It could affect you
yeah,
from growing. It can, I mean, anything. It could affect you how you raise your children. It could affect
absolutely.
your relationships with your friends and your family. It could just affect you because you always crying and looking sad.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so it's just it's so much.
Yeah. And sadness progresses. So what starts out as sadness can then turn to low grade depression and then clinical depression.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I want to talk about, let's see, let's talk about some ways that people can start to plan their exit strategy. So, again, I reached out to people from my community to get their input as well. What can they do to start to plan their exit strategy? So,
Put a plan
like,
together.
put a plan together. One of the things you just got to decide. You got to
You just gotta
decide that
make
it's
a
time to leave.
decision.
Yeah.
You know, and listen, you gotta step out on faith. Like
Hmm.
you gotta kick fear in the ass and just step out on faith because if you got one person that's willing to help you, like
Okay.
meaning, say a situation like mine, I didn't have no money, I didn't really have nowhere to go. You have one person that's willing to like let you stay with them for a couple months.
Okay.
That you good. You just got to get out of the environment because once you get out
Mhm.
of the environment, you can think clearer. You can start putting a plan together.
Okay.
I'm not even going to tell that person in the situation to put a plan together while they're in that situation. Just find someone where you can go
Okay. I was going to
because
ask you that.
honestly,
What about lead time?
when you're in it, you can't think. You're
Ah,
so clouded by the sadness and the toxic and the this and the that. Like you cannot really think. I would visualize places to live when I was alone,
yeah.
when it was quiet, when he wasn't home. But just being in there every day, it was like
Yeah.
when I came home, it was just heavy,
Yeah.
you know? So you got to get out of it. Like once I got out of it, then it's like, yeah, I'm scared, but I got stuff to do. Let me figure this out.
Yeah. And we
If
can use that
it,
visualization even more. So you were
it,
visualizing what it looked like to be on your own. But even when
yeah,
you're in it, can
yeah,
visualization support what a healthy relationship should look like? What does this look like and what do I want? Do
yeah.
I Yeah.
I do that now. Like, I visualize the man that I deserve.
Mhm.
You understand? Like
Mhm.
when you deal with things that you know you don't deserve, it's like, yeah, like this is what I deserve. I mean, I talk my clients' heads off about it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
I know that I'm an amazing woman and I know what I bring to the table.
Mhm.
And I know I don't deserve nothing less than what I give. Nothing less than what I give.
Yeah.
But I deserve even more than that.
Even more. Right.
You know, so like now I find myself just visualizing that like a healthy, supportive relationship. But
Mhm.
it's crazy because I'm kind of on one spectrum. Like, yes, I want that, right? But maybe because of the space I'm in right now, like I don't want it.
Mhm.
I really want to love on me right now because I don't think I've ever really done that.
Okay. So therapy, we've talked about the importance of confiding in someone, finding someone who you can trust and who can support
Therapy.
your decision. How do you feel about therapy?
Okay, so we talking about we're planning an exit strategy for people that are in this relationship, right?
Yeah.
First
Yeah.
thing is leave. Go to somebody. Somebody can help. Will help you. Somebody will help you.
Okay.
When you leave, start therapy right away. Therapy is going to give you the empowerment that
Mhm.
you've been missing. for
Yeah.
all that time. It's going to help you to feel stronger. It's going to help you to know you can do this. You can do this shit.
Yeah.
You know, you got this.
And if your self-esteem and
It's going
confidence
to
have
help
been
you
shredded in the
build.
process, yeah.
It's going to help you build that self-esteem back up.
Mhm.
Surround yourself with people who love you, people who want to help you, and get in some therapy.
Yeah.
I feel like everything else kind of just happens on its own. Because once you start feeling empowered again, everything is like it's limitless after. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
you can achieve so much, maybe even more than you even thought you could. Because
Yeah.
now you know ain't nobody holding you back. You don't have no shackles on you no more.
And one of the things that people, that someone shared, not knowing what to say, just not knowing what to say. And I
I
commented
like
on
that
that. I
shit.
mentioned that a bit earlier
Sometimes you don't
too.
gotta say
Conflict.
nothing. Listen, okay. I left my marriage. I literally came home and I was just like, I gotta go.
Mm,
And he was just kind of dumbfounded, like, what? What do you? I was like, I gotta go. Like, and he knew why he couldn't. He knew why he couldn't like go against me with this, right?
okay.
So I packed the suitcase and I just left. I took my youngest son was 6 weeks old when I left.
Mm,
6 weeks. I just had him.
yeah.
So I left with two small children and I had two teenage children. I left. And with all my kids, all
Yeah.
four. You understand?
I like that you're saying that because well, there's two things. I want to be we have to be realistic. Some people are in some very toxic
Yeah,
relationships
yeah, yeah.
where they are fearing for their life.
Afraid.
Right.
I was too. And I was miserable. And I was plotting an escape. Like,
Mhm.
I gotta leave when he not here.
Mhm.
But he got cameras all in the house. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. You understand? So I get
Yeah.
it. Like I get people who are in a situation where they feel like, how the hell I'm gonna leave?
Stuck.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
saying just leave, but how I can't just go up and be like, I'm out.
Right.
Sometimes you do gotta plan a damn escape.
Okay.
Sometimes you might gotta be like, listen, I'm going for a sleepover and never go back.
Okay.
I mean, you just have to get creative. And like I said, that's why I said open up to your friends, open up to the people around you that love you, because
Mhm.
people will help you figure it out. Using that movie Enough with
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez,
Yeah.
she played the whole escape. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes you got to go to that extreme to get out of something that's killing you from the inside out.
Yeah.
Because it's literally going to be your life or their life.
Let's talk about progress, because I see this here as a comment to move from low contact to no contact. So it sounds like this was progression, that it was a tactic to start distancing yourself. And it sounds like maybe this is a relationship um, where they're not at least living together already. Because in your case, of course, you're married. And for some of these people, they're in a relationship and living together. So low contact to no contact. When I see that, it makes me think of setting boundaries, starting to distance yourself, starting to limit communication.
But in a marriage, it's just different because
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this: in my marriage, like in my with my ex husband, I think if we didn't have children, I would never have talked to him again. You
Ah,
understand? But
and thanks for adding that too, because that's a reality for a lot of
because
people.
kids don't really understand,
Right.
like for my oldest son, he was present for some of our marriage. So my youngest son really wasn't. He was 6 weeks when I left, so
Right.
he
Mhm.
didn't really know, but he just kind of he probably still sees pictures of me up in the house and stuff like that. So he still was like, "Mommy, you gonna get back with Daddy?" And I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
me and Daddy are just friends.
And how
Me and
much do you
Daddy."
share for as a life lesson, as teachable moments? How much do you share about toxicity and toxic relationships to, explain your decision, explain why you aren't together, but then also to teach them how to navigate those types of relationships themselves?
To my kids,
Mm-hmm.
well, my daughters are older, so they kind of were present during the whole thing, so they remember everything.
Okay.
Um, my sons are still too young for me to really go through all that, and I don't
Yeah.
ever want them to. I don't ever want to say anything that's going to change their view of their
Of the
father.
father. Yeah.
So that's a hard topic for me.
Yeah.
I don't ever want them to look at him different than how they look at him. Um, because it's so innocent, it's so pure. Like, to them, he is their hero, and I want it to stay like that.
Mm.
You know, unless they saw things for themselves, I
Yes.
would support them.
I was
You
gonna say
understand?
that's the difference.
Now, if
So I
they
don't know if
saw
you
things
heard
for
that
themselves,
episode with Lakia, but that was what she struggled with, is
yeah,
that she wanted to be the villain at the expense of, so that he didn't look like the villain she was willing to be.
yeah,
And so there was a
and I
lot
will
of
be, and
conflict.
I kind of am.
Well, no, no. So the alternative then is to be transparent in the conversations. Like, yes, that this relationship was toxic. Explain, you know, not
When
in
they
great
get older,
detail, but
I think when they hit maybe their teenage years and they
yeah,
have maybe when they have more questions, I can explain it to them because they can understand it
right,
better. But
right.
now I just feel like they're too young, they're too impressionable.
Yeah.
I don't want, my son. Okay, so this is funny because sometimes sometimes I'm not the nicest to my ex-husband, but it's not because I don't like him. It's because I'll find sometimes the way he talks to me,
Mm-hmm.
it'll trigger when I was
Ah,
in,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I kind of snap back because it's kind of like you're not going to make me feel like this no more.
Yeah.
But my sons see it and they see me, mommy, why are you talking to him?
Ah.
You
Mm-hmm.
understand? And
Mm-hmm.
so I have to explain stuff like that to them, like, mommy was wrong. I shouldn't have did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But daddy shouldn't do this either. It
Yeah.
always takes two people,
Yeah.
so I try to do that. But like, as far as like how they view him, I don't want it. They're too young. When they get older, though, I'm sure we will end up having a conversation because
Right.
they're very inquisitive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the root of it all is that we all experience that conflict, those conflicting emotions. That yes, good people do bad things, which you said earlier too,
And
and
that's
they
not to
can
say he
still love
still
their
is that
father.
person. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not to
yeah,
say he still is that person. It's just,
yep,
he went through a period like that with mommy, and that's just how it ended for us.
yeah.
But then, yeah, when they get older, I'm sure, I mean, because we're close, so I'm sure they'll have questions.
All right, so let's go back to, because this is a full circle moment, because it sounds like you just ended a toxic relationship.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so what are you doing? What does the journey look like for you now to heal from that relationship?
It's literally been day by day for me. It hasn't been easy. This hasn't been a good week for me, honestly.
Okay.
Um, it's kind of like I'm just trying to learn how to love myself again.
Mhm.
That's it. Like, it's literally I'm trying to go through this day by day until I get strong enough to not feel hurt
Mhm.
by actions that were taken.
Yeah.
It, it's but it's funny because I feel like this was kind of a long time coming too. It was like I knew it was coming. I just ain't know like what was going to cause it to just have a full breakdown.
Okay.
And then it was like something small but big, and I was just like, no, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more.
What did
And
you say, if you don't mind me asking? Because this goes
that's
back to what
exactly
we
what
were
I
saying about.
said. I said,
Ah,
I'm
okay.
done. I'm
Okay.
not doing this no more. And he said, whatever, you ain't done. Girl, whatever. Get And I said, yeah, okay. And I blocked him. No, I don't want to hear it.
Oh. Well, is there anything you want to close with?
Um, I would just say it gets better. Like the way like if you're fresh out of a breakup, the
Mhm.
way you feel today, you won't feel like it tomorrow. Every day gets better.
Mhm.
Um, talk about how you feel. Cry if you need to.
Yeah.
Try not to sit in your misery too long though, because that's also that can cause you to call because you feel like
Ah,
you miss him.
okay.
Like for me, I love this weather. Like I'm a summer baby, so like warm weather
Mhm.
puts me in a good mood.
Mhm.
And I'm like, ooh, and I feel like I've gained weight in this relationship. So I'm like, I'm about to
Okay.
start walking the bridge. I'm about to start getting my health back in order.
Uh-huh.
Like, focusing on work, starting to implement new things. Like I just kind of pour into myself.
Yeah.
So I would say that to anybody, like, even if it's reading a book. I haven't read a book in a long time. I want to go to a bookstore and just get some books.
Okay.
I don't like I like looking through books, you know what I mean? So, I mean, just do simple things. I don't know, just I wish I could say it's easy. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not easy, we're all emotional people. So, and we start remembering the happy times with that person, so it's not something that is easy to get over sometimes, but it gets better, you get stronger, and eventually it won't hurt.
Mhm. Well, you did great.
Girl, I was nervous.
It
But
flows.
this was
It's just
good.
a
This was therapy for me.
conversation. And that's what it's like, right? Talking to
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
clients sharing, you sharing.
You already
Yeah,
know it'd be therapy when my clients come in here. I'd be like,
absolutely.
girl. But no,
Yes.
I needed it.
That's why I think this campaign can be effective because I don't think people realize that's what they're doing, that they're
They do it
cleansing, that it
anyway.
is cathartic, right? So when you got to get it off of your chest, it's like sometimes they probably can't wait to sit in your chair
Mm-hmm.
because this will be the first time that they can sit down again and talk to somebody who knows the history
Mm-hmm.
because the history is necessary too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They don't have to sit down and start from A, what's been going on in my life because they've been here. You've been hearing it for the past
Exactly.
several weeks.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what they're doing is still a form of therapy. And so I think that relationship is a good example, something to model what additional help looks like.
Mm-hmm.
All right, MCs, that's going to do it for today's episode. We've already talked about how your exit strategy should include grief support alongside it. But now it's time to assemble your full support system. So, as Dawn was saying, confiding in someone is everything. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to family, friends, and a therapist if you're ready, because combined, these people can provide both, logistical and emotional support during the process. If possible, I mentioned earlier in the episode, moving from low contact to no contact. So it's best to avoid contact with the toxic partner after the breakup. This can help you move on and heal from the relationship. It establishes with your partner exactly what you will and what you will not tolerate. And it builds your ability to enforce these boundaries as the breakup progresses, right? So, for more help and conversations within my community, you can join my Slack community and you can follow me on Instagram at It's Marcia Cork. All the ways to connect with me are in the show notes, so just tap the links. And if you're a new listener, I hope you enjoyed this show and that you'll follow the show right now. I release a new episode every Monday. So, until next week, MCs, bye bye.